If you've ever listened to a Chiefs game over the past 35 years, that's where we'll start this Defending the Kingdom podcast as we remember Spartacus, a.k.a. Dan Israel, a.k.a. Spartacus. That, and we'll update free agency. Remember, we're doing the green, red, black thing, so it's GRB 2.0 and a tribute to Spartacus. And, of course, like every Defending the Kingdom episode, it's brought to you by your friends at Ticketmaster. They become your 12-month place to go for your favorite events.
Holmes keeps it on an RPO at the 5, gets a lead block. He goes into the end zone near side. Touchdown, Kansas City.
Hi, everyone. I'm Mitch Holthus, voice of the Chiefs, along with senior team reporter Matt McMullen. And we're going to start, let's go around the world before we start our tribute. But we will start this podcast with a tribute to Dan Israel, who passed on March the 20th after a 10-year bout with cancer.
And Dan's the absolute best. I look forward to talking about him. It's been a hard week, hard couple of days. And we'll get into it here in a minute. I do have 4 around the worlds.
All right.
Beginning with a pretty cool one. So I heard from Ross.
Rashi Rice.
Rashi Rice.
He's coming back.
I cannot wait to finally see Rashi Rice, Xavier Worthy, and Hollywood Brown on the field at the same time. This is something that in the dorms in St. Joe, a year ago, we were talking about how awesome that trio was going to be. We never saw it. It never happened. Well, it's happening this year. 4.
It was like
Rashi
a
Rice.
light on the Holy Grail. Like when they're walking down the hill in St. Joseph, and you and I are just stunned. We're like, wow, look at the 514 area code. And then it never happened. But
turned it into the 1 area code.
But we can't wait.
We'll get it next year.
Yeah.
So 4 for Rashi Rice. Heard from Ross in Ayrshire, which is in southwest Scotland.
Yeah.
You ever been there?
Have not, want to, yeah, for sure.
I mean, I Googled it. It looked absolutely amazing, like the most beautiful place ever, so got to go there. And Ross was curious if anyone listening is from Ayrshire or nearby or from Scotland in general, trying to find some Chiefs fans up there. So if you are in that area, want to hang out with Ross, let me know. We heard from a listener in Portland, Oregon. Been a fan since 1963. Originally grew up, though, in Belfry, Montana. Becky is checking in from South Olathe.
Well, let's back up. 1963 would have been the first year of the Kansas City Chiefs. They had 60, 61, and 62 as the Dallas Texans and made the move. So there must be some story there, although she's from Montana. But that would have been the first year the Chiefs were here in Kansas City.
They also wanted you to guess who the high school mascot in Belfry was, but I forgot to look up what it was. So do you have any guesses? I guess I could look it up right now.
It's got to be cool, though, if it's in Belfry, Montana.
I'm going to Google this so you can think about it.
I mean, I love Eagles, but don't be the Eagles. You've got to be something okay. I mean, Montana State's the Bobcats, University of Montana's the Grizzlies, but Belfry, Montana.
Stick with me.
Okay.
Google's doing its thing.
Is it?
Oh,
it
this is pretty good. This is pretty good.
Is it a good one?
So it's alliterative. It's also
and it doesn't deal with the 1923 trilogy, right? It doesn't deal with the famous trilogy on Paramount.
No, it does not.
Okay.
For a second, I was like, what are you talking
Ranch.
about?
The Dutton Ranch.
No, it does not have to do with Yellowstone.
Okay. Yellowstone. So I'm thinking Yellowstone, 1923, 1883 or 9, whatever it is.
Not quite. This is pretty cool.
So
I
on
like
a binge. I was so on a binge on that every episode all at once, and just have Doritos.
Do you have a guess?
Let me guess. Is it an animal?
It is, yeah.
Then I'm going to go with the beavers.
Okay, it's a great guess. You are incorrect. It's the Belfry Bats. The Bats.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty good.
Way to go,
I
the
like
Belfry Bats.
Belfry Bats. So there we go. We learned something today.
A grade on that one.
There
Go
we go.
Bats.
I love it. So Becky is checking in from South Olathe. Then we have a listener in Tucson.
Did she go to Olathe South? Is she a Falcon?
I don't know. Let us know.
Yep.
Need more information. Listener in Tucson listened to last week's episode, agreed with the Arizona State hate. Just forks down, right?
So she's U of A, right?
Yeah,
Don't fear the forks.
Should have worn my Arizona State shirt. That will probably never be worn ever again.
Tucson's a magnificent city, though. I love it. So beautiful, interesting. A lot of great memories there. You know, we were just in Arizona with the family, but we were in, of course, the Phoenix, Scottsdale, Tempe area. But it is a sneaky place to go vacation, to go to Tucson.
I've never been. I lived in Scottsdale for a year, but never went to Tucson.
Nah, you'll love it. Different feel to it, different vibe.
I should go.
And great vibe.
He also mentioned
Bear down, U of A.
Bear down. He said bear down in his message, and he also said
Hashtag bear down.
referring to a couple weeks ago when I talked about the capybara that I met in Wichita. He said there was a lost capybara wandering around his neighborhood in Tucson last week. So
That would have been so cool.
I mean, if I walked outside and just saw a capybara walking down the road, not sure the emotions that I'd feel. What do? Do you just call animal control, I guess, or
You know that there's rescue dogs.
yeah?
And Pip,
Yeah.
right? You rescued Pip.
Sure
and
did.
Pip's turned into the greatest dog in the Chiefs Kingdom.
Giving us the power to get to all
Are
these
there
Super Bowls.
are there rescue capybaras?
I'm sure there are. There have to be, right?
Is it legal to have one and domesticate it?
I think it depends on the state.
Okay.
So maybe Arizona they can. I don't know. Let us
There's
know
a
what happened
place
to the capybara.
There's a place called the Weston La Paloma. This person would know where it's at, kind of the northern hills of Tucson. It's magnificent. It's got a huge tennis facility there, but they do a great job of talking about the it's basically like a botanical garden kind of thing. It's a museum of like desert plants.
Okay.
It's really, really good. Tucson, yeah.
Okay.
I'll throw it out there.
You know, it's March 25th when we're shooting this, when we're just having the most random conversation ever, and I'm here to extend the randomness. This is kind of an around the world thing.
Is it from Tucson?
It's not from Tucson. So this envelope here, for those watching, is from my wife's uncle, is that my uncle-in-law? I don't know. I'm not sure how that works.
I'd stay with wife's uncle.
Yeah, shout out to Glenn Davis. He is a Bronco fan, but when he was younger, I guess just wanted to get stuff from all the different teams. And in 1978, he sent the Chiefs a letter, I'm guessing, and asked for just some general stuff. And they sent him back this envelope full of stuff. We're going to open this, okay?
Okay.
Mitch has not seen the stuff in here. It's pretty cool, though.
I love the font, though. Look at this font.
Old school, like
old
lowercase.
School font. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's the old, lowercase. And then I love the old computerized, label.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
From 1978. This is all preserved really well. Okay, so here's the first thing. Look at this letter. It says, "Dear Kansas City Chiefs fan, thank you for your recent request for information regarding the Kansas City Chiefs. Your continuous and outstanding support is truly appreciated." And then they go on to say, "We receive a lot of mail, but we hope you enjoy this stuff." So, yeah, kind of cool.
Did they know that Glenn, though,
Was a Bronco
misrepresented?
fan?
No, you misrepresented Dear Kansas City Chiefs.
That's what I'm
fan.
saying. They are confused.
This is a scandal.
The goodness of their hearts. So here we go. Here's a 1978 roster. That
Love
was
it.
printed out. Gary Spaney's on there.
Yeah. He would have been a rookie, I think.
Uh-huh.
And it's it's old typewriter
Yeah.
ribbon.
And it's like a
kinda
little
stuff.
bit off to the side. It's not perfectly even. Here's the best thing. This is a 1978 Chiefs souvenir price list. Look at some of these prices on here. You can get a pennant for $1.
It's a bargain.
You can get a bobblehead Chiefs doll for $2. Postcards are 20 cents. You have to include 50 cents per order for handling and postage, though.
So I'd order a 20-cent postcard, and I'd have to add 50 cents.
It costs more than the
Yeah.
card.
Okay.
Here's your 1978 pocket schedule, if you need that. Yeah.
This was not a good team. Okay.
But just in case.
Let's just throw that out there. 4 preseason games. I got it. Yep.
And here's some football cards. So there's Gary Spaney, Art Still, Mike Bell, Carlos Carson, Tom Condon,
Famous agent.
Lloyd Burris. Yeah, Tom Condon, famous agent. Nick Lowry, Gary Green. There's some pretty good players on here.
Really good players. They just didn't happen
Bill
for
Kenny.
that group. Yeah.
Yeah, Joe Delaney card.
Ooh.
It's kind of cool. So anyway, I thought you might enjoy this. Get a kick out of it.
Heck yeah.
Yeah, 1978. It's been sitting somewhere very well preserved in his house, and he mailed it to me, and there we go. So
Does he
anyway,
want you to keep it now, or does Glenn wants all this back?
I'm allowed to keep it. Yeah, I'm not sure what I'll do with it, but it'll live up in the office somewhere. Those that have been in my office know that I have a bunch of random Chiefs memorabilia. So, there's also this. It's like a little breakdown of the team. Mm-hmm. Some pictures on the front. So,
Marv Levy, he was sick, and it's got the 1981 schedule. So,
well, that doesn't make any sense, does it?
81 was the. That team had a shot, and that was Delaney and those guys, and they just didn't quite get it done. But that. Marv Levy, if they just stayed with Marv Levy, things could have been
So
different.
if we have stuff from 78 and 81, do you think maybe this was like an 83 and they just sent him a whole bunch of random stuff?
I think it was.
Might have been. Oh, well. We'll
Or
take
it's
it.
the intern going, just clear off the desk over there. What do you
Let's
have
grab
over
some
there?
stuff. And
It'd be like
50 years later, we're talking about it on our podcast. What's a podcast?
It'd be 10 years. 10 years later going to your office, which actually I think is cool, all the stuff you've got, and going, hey, just send some stuff.
Like, okay, just dig it out of my drawer.
Oh, golly.
Yeah, but anyway, that's your off the rails around the world segment for today.
Yeah, I love it. And thanks for the levity, because it has been a tough 10 days, 2 weeks. Dan Israel was an amazing man, and I worked with him for 31 years. He was different roles with the Chiefs Radio Network, but he started in 35 seasons ago. And if you think about it, the team started in 1960, so he was over halfway of the entire organizational history. But way more to Dan than just being the executive producer of the Chiefs Radio Network. And I don't want to give away what I'm going to present in his eulogy on Thursday at his memorial service at the Church of the Resurrection here in Kansas City. But he touched so many lives. He was a genius of sound and music. And he could take music and words, which, seems like this kind of collision of consonants and vowels. And as I'll say in the eulogy, he could take a twig and drop it, and it would turn into this bouquet of flowers. That's the way Dan was. So incredibly creative, a master of sound. And his expertise went far beyond the Chiefs Kingdom, because he was a consultant for the major networks. He was a consultant for the Olympic Games, the National Football League, national outlets like Westwood One or Sirius all knew who Dan was, because he was either consultant or directly involved with them. But he had a 10-year struggle with cancer. I remember when he was first diagnosed in 2014 as with stage 4 colon cancer, which in most cases is a death wish that doesn't, last very long. And so we thought maybe he could go for a year. I remember his first miss was 2015. We played Minnesota in the University of Minnesota's old stadium because they were working on not the old stadium, but the stadium on campus at the U of M, because they were no more Metrodome and they were getting U.S. Bank ready. So I remember that distinctly because we played at the Gopher Stadium, and Dan wasn't there. And we're thinking, woof, well, what a void. And the fact that he lived for almost 10 more years and went through just treacherous and brutal chemotherapy, but it kept him alive, but it finally just wore him down, that and the cancer would spread throughout his body. Just a courageous dude, so talented, touched so much of the Chiefs Kingdom more than people even realize. But anyway, I don't want to ramble, but yeah, it's been difficult. But a tribute, we called him Spartacus. He was our Spartacus, and just an amazing dude.
So I've had the privilege of being in the radio booth with you on the road over the last several years, spotting for you. And what that means is I had a front row seat to see Dan Israel producing and really conducting the whole operation. And being with you in the radio booth is amazing, because you're somehow taking information from like 9 different inputs and you're turning it into an incredible broadcast. And Dan was the one who was basically in charge of the whole thing. He's helping manage all those inputs. He produced the whole broadcast, so it's not just what you hear on the air when the game is going on, but it's in and out of breaks, the music he would choose, just the entire operation. Like when you listen to a Chiefs game and you listen to Mitch, how the whole thing is so seamless. Well, Dan created the whole thing. And it was so cool, the 4 years, I guess, now that I've spotted for you, to see him do his thing, because it was like effortless. It was like the hardest job in the world, but it was effortless. And it was a real honor to see him do all that. But more than anything, I'll always just remember Dan's kindness to me. Mm-hmm. Dan was kind to me when I first got hired here in 2017, and I was writing articles for the website just on community events. Well, he would seek me out and be interested in my football opinions and wanted to talk to me and hear about my background, and he didn't have to do that. I wouldn't have blamed him if he didn't do that. And I just will never forget that he took an interest in me and was always kind to me, and, spotting for you in the booth. If I missed something, he wouldn't lay into me. Like, he just was the best. And for those that don't know Dan but have been seeing all the outpouring on social media and everything, I think you're kind of getting the idea of what kind of guy he was. An incredible professional, but an even better just human being. And game day and just being here at work will not be the same.
And Dan was so much more outside of the Chiefs realm. He and his brother had Short Circuit Electronics, a multi-million-dollar company that worked with some of the biggest companies in our nation and even globally, and big defense contracts. I mean, Dan was an incredible entrepreneur. I mentioned so creative. He was also a composer, and he had the best production studio in Kansas City in his house downstairs. And I remember the first time I saw it at this incredible, huge grand piano. It was over in the corner with the light shining on it, and where Dan would, sit down and, like any composer, would just start to play and start to, imagine it in his mind, and then would write music. And then his production studio and his editing equipment, it was just like I couldn't believe what I was seeing. I said, I feel like I'm in L.A. or in Nashville. And he goes, well, you say that. And then he goes over and pops his secret door open, and he had worked with national recording artists, including the famous Christian singer from Nashville, Michael W. Smith, early in his years. And so I'm just like, who am I talking to here? And he was incredible. There was a lot of depth to Dan, and I'm really trying to remember him properly for the eulogy that I'll give on Thursday, and just to be a proxy for his children, Matt and Lauren, and then for his brother David and his mom. So anyway, we start this Defending the Kingdom with a tribute to Spartacus, who courageous. He was a courageous dude, man. This chemo, and he took different kinds. And he would go to MD Anderson in Houston. When you go into MD Anderson, it's intense, right? You've had friends that have gone there. And it would be like an A-gap blitz. And an unblocked guy just smashing the quarterback and knocking the wind out of you. And he said it would just destroy me. And then he goes, eventually, the couple of weeks, I'd be like the quarterback trying to get back up, and then he'd feel good and get ready to snap the ball again, and it would just keep repeating that sequence for months and months and years. Kept him alive, but eventually all of that caught up with him, and on March the 20th, he passed at 4:20 in the morning. But we remember Spartacus. He cannot be replaced. He will not be replaced. We got to figure out a way to move on without him, but we remember him. And so I love the way he welcomed you into the booth, like you'd been there every day.
Like every day, like I was part of the family. It just meant a lot to me. His legacy will live on forever. Yeah. Because he changed this place for the better. It means a lot if, when you pass on, the Chiefs are immediately putting out a statement from Clark Hunt, from Mark Donovan, from Coach Reed. I mean, that's the impact he left. That the people that are in charge of this whole thing, the day that he passes, they're like, we need to say something because of the legacy that he left. Also, you mentioned how he was a composer. I didn't know that until you told me today. But I'm not surprised because, again, what he does in the booth was kind of like composing the whole broadcast. Yeah. And one thing that sticks in my mind is when he was timing you out of breaks, he would do it with such rhythm. You know what I'm talking about? Like it'd be like 5, like that. Like it was such rhythm to it. So I'm not surprised that he was a composer. But just an amazing guy, and we could talk about him forever. Also, never complained about anything, because if you think about it, the entire time that I knew him, he was undergoing this treatment, and I would have never known unless you had told me. I mean, he went about his business like he was grateful for every day, and every day was a gift, and he was excited to attack the day. I mean, to still travel with the team and because it's a grind, and to, be doing everything that he was doing. Never complained, never wanted people to feel sorry for him. He just attacked every single day and really led by example. So, again, we could talk about Dan forever, but just an amazing guy who left an immense legacy.
We'll close this segment with this. Coach loved him. Coach Reed loved him and respected Dan Israel. He knew that he was dirty tough, as Coach would say, and wicked smart, another one of Coach's phrases. But Dan was the first person to talk to Coach after games. After the inner circle, Coach always meets with the inner circle, right? And then there's a brief conversation, and then they disperse, and then Dan walks in. And that's, close to the fire.
Yeah.
And it was this year, I think it was the Carolina game. We didn't play particularly well, 33-31 victory, and pull it out on Pat scramble and one of our
Was that
stink-off field goals.
Was it Schrader?
It was Schrader,
Yeah.
and now's a Colt. But anyway, Schrader gets the win. He's so excited he turns his hamstring up running when he came back here. I was like, what? Anyway, so on Monday nights we have the Chiefs Kingdom show. One of the great features of that show is a fireside chat with Coach Reed. It's different than his normal pressers. It's a time where he's somewhat relaxed, even after a loss, where he's got time, he's backed up and thought about things. And he's just so wise and entertaining, it's awesome. Best part of the week in many ways. But when there's a short week, like Carolina to the Raiders was a 6-day week, Coach will not do that live. He needs that 15 minutes to utilize to get ready for the next week. So Dan and I would collaborate. And I'd just remind Dan, hey, we got to get some more questions from Coach. If you can think about it, 2 more questions. And get some impact so we can make a segment for Monday, because he's not going to do the live segment with us. Well, you remember that was not a great game.
Yeah.
And his comments were, hey, we won this game. Because the feeling after the game was like a losing locker room in many ways. Remember how that feeling? It was strange.
Yeah, because it felt like we kind of let them hang around.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it was, and Coach is going, okay, hey, we can play a lot better. We're going to fix this, they always say. But not great. Well, he sees Dan. And I see Dan on the plane. We're coming home, and I go, so how was it? Did you get any sound we can use? He goes, not a lot. But he goes, the first thing Coach asked me was about me. It wasn't about the game. Coach completely switched gears. Dan, how are you? How's things going? He could tell. He could see Dan and know that he was coming off a tough chemo hit. And that's what Coach is about. But he and Dan had a special relationship, Coach Reed and Dan. So anyway, Spartacus, we'll miss you, and you are irreplaceable. Now, we're going to finish this episode by updating free agency. We talked about it. It's GRB, basically, and, like to categorize guys: green, the guys you gain; red, the guys you lose; and then black are the guys you keep. And, of course, all 3 categories are full, not only for the Chiefs, but for the other 31 teams in the National Football League. It's always active this time of year. Well, we thought we'd update you with guys that the Chiefs have gained, and we'll start here with Jerry Tillery. You and I love to get into the draft. We go through it, and I remember when Jerry Tillery was coming out of Notre Dame, he was a top prospect. He was a first-round pick.
Yeah.
The Chargers picked him late in the first round, and it just had the career has not flourished for him like we thought it would. But I remember how highly regarded Jerry Tillery was coming out of Notre Dame.
And while he hasn't been like a superstar, he's been a good player.
Good player.
He's played in 17 games last year for the Vikings, 11 starts, and, of course, had a bunch of experience with the Chargers, like over 50 games played, I think, and also the Raiders over the last handful of years. I think what I like most about him, to go with that experience, is his size. So he's 6'6", 295 pounds. He has the inside-outside flexibility, so he's primarily like an inside defensive tackle, but he can also play on the edge if needed, which Steve Spagnuolo, of course, loves those kind of players. But this signing is another example of what we talked about on our last episode, where Brett Veach has done a great job of positioning us, I think, to attack the draft and truly take the best players available. And you lose a guy like Tershawn Wharton, who was so good for this team for so many years. I don't want to say a player can replace another, but Tillery, in terms of his body of work and his body type, can kind of slide into that role, I think. And you can attack the draft now where if you want to take a defensive tackle high, you can, but you don't necessarily have to, because if you had to roll out there on day one against whoever we play in the first week of the season with Jerry Tillery next to Chris Jones, that's pretty good. So
yeah.
I like the signing a lot. We're going to see what he has in training camp, but he's still a young player with a lot of experience and versatility.
And we have seen this so many times, whether it's our players or throughout the NFL, having the right coach, particularly at this time in his career. He started in 2019. That's when he was a number 1 draft pick, or not a first-round draft pick. But the right coach, right scheme, right circumstance, guy's career can take off. Mike Pennell is a great example of this. We're going to talk about Mike in a second. Mike's career was redefined when he became a Kansas City Chief, and we're hoping the same with Tillery. Now, Tillery's had productivity. First of all, he's been available. It's the best abilities availability, 96 games. When you look at what he's done in 6 years, that's a good thing. And his 28 quarterback hits in the 20 and 21 season show you that there is potential there. So Jerry Tillery, who's making his way around the AFC West, is third out of 4 teams. But you're going to stay here. You don't want to go to the Broncos. We want you to flourish here. So great to see Jerry. Now, a common, much discussed name also joins the Chiefs. We didn't talk about him, and it's Gardner Minshew, the mustachioed one, who became famous to run in Jacksonville and everybody wearing Minshew mustaches. This is really an intriguing person. I cannot wait to talk to him. I've yet to talk to him. Okay, are you excited to sit down and visit?
I'm excited for the preseason because I do the preseason sideline stuff, and Gardner Minshew is going to make the preseason electric, I think. But I love kind of his makeup as a person. So he has a lot of experience, which is great for your backup quarterback. But I kind of dove into who he is as a dude when I learned that we had signed him, which ironically, our last episode, when we filmed it, we were joking around that we're totally going to sign someone later today now, and we did. It was Gardner Minshew. But anyway, his first game ever was against the Chiefs. Remember that? And he was amazing. He started 15 of 15 or something because
22 of 25 for the game. I knew who he was. I'm coming to college.
Yeah,
we'll get to that in a second. But the dude was killing us.
Yeah, Nick Foles gets hurt and he comes in and we can't force an incompletion. And he made the most of his time in Jacksonville. He was pretty good there. Then went to Philadelphia and was their backup. But one of my favorite kind of things I learned about Minshew, have you seen the hug he shared with his dad after he led the Eagles to a win a handful of years ago? It's the most genuine, authentic thing ever, where if you told me it was outside of a high school stadium and Gardner was a high school senior and led his team to a big win, his dad was proud of him, it was the same thing. And I don't know, I still like that. In the world of professional sports where there's so much money and sponsors and everything, it's so cool to see just an authentic moment. I think he plays the game for the right reasons. In his opening presser, he seems so excited to be here and just to learn and to help in any way that he can. So as many people that you can get around you, the better. So I'm all for it.
Yeah, and that becomes the story because and he's so interesting because of his travels.
Yeah.
He makes Last Chance U, the original year of Last Chance U, as a villain because he's the antagonist by beating the team that was being featured on Netflix, and then he goes on to win the JUCO championship. And that becomes a deal. Then he's going to go to Troy. That didn't work out. So he goes to East Carolina. That didn't work out, kind of. Then he goes to Washington State because he's going to be a part of the air raid offense.
And Mike Leach.
And put up crazy numbers at Wazoo. So then that leads to his time in the National Football League. But boiled down, 2 things. One, he has started 46 games, won 17 of them. And the definition of a backup quarterback in the NFL is, can you win a game? Mm-hmm. Can you win a game on your own? Pat can't play. Can you win a game? Matt Moore did it, remember, against the Vikings back in the 2019 season. And we saw what Chad Heading did, heroic. But I'm going to throw Bailey Zappi in here because that's the quarterback room now. Still, Chris Oladokun's in there as well. But that room, it's got to be the room. So Gardner Minshew's value here for Patrick Mahomes and Matt Nagy and the rest of the offensive staff, but especially that room. Now, Bailey Zappi is interesting. He was with us for a while. Then he gets claimed, right? Cleveland gets him. And he was with New England. And he's also won 4 games as a starter in the National Football League with the Patriots. But Bailey Zappi's history with Pat goes back to a guy named Zach Kitley. And I remember Pat and I talking about this in the equipment room where Zappi had gone to – it was formerly Houston Baptist. Now it's Houston Christian. And that was his coach. Well, that was the GA, offensive graduate assistant at Texas Tech when Pat was at Tech.
What a small world.
But Pat reveres this guy. This guy's kind of a guru-ish offensive guy. And so Zappi goes with him to Houston Christian, renamed Baptist to Christian Huskies, and lights it up. So this dude gets the Western Kentucky job.
Okay.
Here goes Bailey. Goes with him to Western Kentucky and puts up incredible numbers. If you remember Zappi coming out of Western Kentucky, it was like Pat.
Yeah.
He had these video game numbers. And so Zappi's really interesting. But there's a tie here with Patrick Mahomes in the quarterback room. So with Minshew, how well do you fit in? What can you bring to the table? He said the right things during the press conference. Chad Henne's the poster child here.
Yeah.
Because it's more about the room with Zappi and Minshew as it is anything else. That, and you may have to win a game in the national, hopefully not, but you have to win a game in the National Football League. And if you have to win a playoff game.
Yeah, which we should ask Gardner if he's prepared to take the field in the divisional round like Chad had to do a couple of times.
In a 98-yard drive.
98-yard drive, or throw the ball on 4th down, on your side of the field. But I'm with you. In so many ways, the quarterback room, like you said, is about more than just like going out there and playing. It's about a room of shared experiences, but also experiences from other places. And to say, hey, what about this? Or why don't we try that? And it's like any kind of collaborative group where maybe someone says something from a different perspective and you learn something that maybe you wouldn't have thought of on your own, and that helps you win a game. So the more minds and guys from different places we can get in there, the better. And, yeah, hopefully they don't have to play in, like, big situations. But if they do, you have faith in them. And like I said, the preseason should be exciting. So looking forward to it.
46 starts now. That's 2 1/3 years of starting.
Yeah.
So he sees something on video that Pat may not see, or Coach may not see, or Nags may not see, but he sees it because he's lived it and he's done it. I mean, he's not been in a flight simulator. He's been in combat. And so I think that becomes very, very important. We saw it down through the years with guys. But, yeah, excited to get his experience and his kind of edge to go to that quarterback room. And you're right, it will create a lot of fun in the preseason. But let's jump ahead now to the black category, which is the guys you keep. And it's not black for the Raiders. It's black because, hey, it's not green or red. You kept them. I'm super excited because since we did our last episode, there are guys that have re-signed with the Kansas City Chiefs. And I'm so fired up about everyone I'm going to mention here, and we can discuss it. Well, I'm going to start with Kareem Hunt. Okay. What I learned last year in the 2024 season is I like 2nd and 4 a whole lot better than 2nd and 10 or 2nd and 9. Let me give you a stat. This is crazy. The Kansas City Chiefs last year, 2nd and 4 or 5 to go. The Chiefs had the most 2nd and 4s or 5s of any team in the NFL with 78.
Wow.
The next closest was Cincinnati with 61.
Huh.
What does that do? It makes Coach's iPad come alive. And if I'm running the ball and I can get, or a short pass, and I get 4 or 5 on first down, look out. It's one of the main reasons the Kansas City Chiefs made it to Super Bowl 59. I think that and his 7 touchdowns.
Yeah.
He's a red zone rushing threat. He's maybe not going to run for 75 yards on a run, but dadgummit, he's going to get to the end zone, and he'll walk off a game like he did against Tampa Bay.
And no negative runs. So the Chiefs had the fewest non-kneel-down negative rushes of any team in the NFL last year by far. Only like 22 of them. And Kareem is a big reason why, because Kareem never goes down at first contact, and you could count on one hand the number of times he was tackled in the backfield. Like whenever you gave him the ball, he might not get you 6 yards, but he'll get you at least 3. Or at least 4. And to your point, that allows the offense to keep moving along, and Coach Reid has everything at his disposal, because the worst thing you can be in is 2nd and 14 or 3rd and 17. Like, it really constricts your ability to move the chains. Well, Kareem kept the offense on schedule throughout the year, and in so many ways saved our season. Because you lose Hollywood Brown early in the year, lose Rashee Rice early in the year, lose Isaiah Pacheco after the Bengals game. I mean, these are some guys that you were counting on to be major, major contributors. And to bring Kareem in here after not playing the first several weeks of the season, you sign him off the street. You bring him in here, and he, I think, led this team in scrimmage yards. I think he had the most rushing touchdowns on the team, and second to only Xavier in terms of total touchdowns on the team. And he only played a handful of games. I mean, just incredible for him to come in here to really sacrifice his body in so many ways and to give his all to this team. We don't make the Super Bowl last year without Kareem Hunt. And, yeah, I'm glad he's back. Let's get him a full offseason now back in the system, the offensive system. Doesn't have to show up in week 4 and figure it out as he goes. But Kareem showed us a lot of heart last year. He deserves to be back here, and I'm excited to see what he can do.
And 200 carries. I mean, geez, unreal. Now Kareem's got to get ready to go back to a 17 and 18 body of because now he has coaches, OTAs, and his camp.
Yep.
Okay. You missed all that last year, Kareem. Get ready to do it again. Another guy missed it but came back and was great and helped our season is Juju Smith-Schuster. This re-signing is bigger than people think. They're going, wait a minute, I can't take Juju on my fantasy squad. Well, he'll give you a 31-yard play like he did in the AFC Championship game against Buffalo or the 50-yarder he had against New Orleans. But I learned in the first couple of years that Andy Reid was here in Kansas City about a role that he has for certain guys. And it is almost like a screen setter in basketball where I set a screen, but I might, pick and pop, and I might hit a shot. But my screens are so good that you're going to get a shot all day long. Juju Smith-Schuster's role in this offense is greater than anybody, I think, than most people realize because he does so much, not just short yardage, but his ability to move and screen and use his body legally and the way he does his business to accept that role because it's a big difference than what he did when he was just a laser light show early with the Pittsburgh Steelers. To accept that role that is so important in this offense, I saw it initially with Jason Avant. I thought, okay, but I see how Coach used him. Juju coming back is a big deal.
Yeah, it is. And also maybe he can embrace and fully utilize that role a little bit more this year because he won't be forced into other roles because hopefully we don't have injuries throughout the wide receiver room again. I mean, what a godsend Juju was last year. Got here 5 days before the season opener and helped this team win. Again, you lose Hollywood, you lose Rasheed. Xavier had to take on a whole new role, which meant Juju had to slide into a different role. And it's kind of a thankless job sometimes, but you ever watch Juju blocking? All the little things that he does? Juju just loves being here, loves being a part of the winning, and he'll do whatever it takes to help this team win. So, yeah, glad Juju's back. He's still so young. How old is Juju? 28?
He started when he was 17.
Yeah, I mean, he's not that old. So,
how old was he at USC? He was a junior. I mean,
19 or something?
I know, it's nuts.
He's got a lot of good football left in him. And this receiver room at this point, I'm excited about it because in so many ways, we were excited about last year's room. Then Juju got added to the fold, and it's all right, once Hollywood comes back, this group's going to be awesome. Well, we never saw it actually come to fruition, but now we might have a chance. So glad Juju's back. And just like Kareem, he has the entire offseason training program now with the offense. I get he had been here before, but it's still a little bit different when you show up 5 days beforehand. He has the entire offseason now to really be ingrained in the offense, and I think that'll help him out.
One, he's super smart. Two, he creates energy.
Yeah.
He's a really good energy creator. The other thing is, just like Kareem, who has to channel his inner 17 and 18 self, he's got to channel his inner 2022 self.
Yep.
Because he, too, is going to have to endure coaches, OTAs, and training camp. But he's been through it before. Another guy that'll have to do that is, I'm so excited, so are you, about getting him re-signed, because I wasn't sure it was going to happen, is the 2024 defensive version of Hollywood Brown, and that is Charles Omenihu. Charles Omenihu, we saw him flash. We saw him flash in the playoffs in 2023. His impactful games that he had, even in that Week 18 victory over the Chargers when he ripped the ball out that led to the 97-yard scoop and score. But also his plays in the playoff. And then he tears his ACL in the AFC Championship game. He cannot play in Super Bowl 58. And you get injured that late, it just takes the next season and really throws it off the track. And we thought, when's he coming back? When's he coming back? He came back and had his moments, but it was like the rocket, just like with Hollywood Brown, never really got off the launching pad. And now he's got an off season. And I'm so fired up to have him because he's so impactful. When you look at his 20 career sacks, 19 and a half, but more importantly, his 8 passes defensed, his 6 forced fumbles, his 53 quarterback hits, he impacts a play way more than just getting sacks.
I think he's one of the most underrated players in the NFL, and the reason that people outside of Chiefs Kingdom might not know much about him is just because of the limited amount of time he's been on the field the last couple of years. Well, this year we finally get a full season of Charles Omenihu, and I'm so fired up about it because whenever he's been on the field, he's just been effective for this team. Look at a couple of years ago. let's see, 29 pressures, 7 sacks in just 11 games in 2023. Then, of course, had the ACL injury. When he came back, 12 pressures, a sack, and a forced fumble in 6 games. Then 3 tackles for loss and a sack in 3 playoff games. Had that strip sack on C.J. Stroud.
Yep.
So he's just such a great player for this defense. Steve Spagnuolo loves him because of his positional versatility. He has that length where he can knock down passes. He can bounce inside, but also be so good as an outside edge rusher. And you look at the dynamic of this defensive line right now, having Charles versus not having Charles makes such a huge difference because you had Charles Omenihu to this group, George Karlaftis on the other side. You can rotate in guys like Mike Dana and Felix Anudike-Uzama. There's just a lot of depth there at edge rusher when you add a player like Charles Omenihu. So getting him back is a big deal. Hopefully he goes out there, has a big year, can finally play a full season with the Chiefs. And I know how much it meant to him to get back to the Super Bowl because he couldn't play in 2023. Game obviously didn't go the way that he planned, but now he's back with the Chiefs, and let's go take care of business for Charles in the Super Bowl this year.
Yeah, your point. And to me, talk about creating energy, which is Juju, what he does, and even Kareem in his own way.
Yeah.
There is a hunger with Charles that you see every day.
It was on our show when we had him on before the Bills game. You could tell,
awesome.
look in his eye.
And that look is there every day. Every time I see him, he's there. And so disappointed that didn't get Super Bowl 59 for him, but he's ready to go get 60.
Yeah, he is.
And to your point, this I think is very good. If you take his numbers and would somehow translate it to a 17-game season, he's going to lead the league or be a Pro Bowler in many categories.
Yeah.
It's just getting 17 games. So, anyway, Charles Omenihu's back. Another one I'm fired up about is Mike Pennell. Mike Pennell had his best season as a pro, and he's been around now double digits in this league. Mike is the example we gave you earlier in this podcast of looking like a Tillery who could thrive in this environment, this defense. Mike has done that. Now, we look at his sacks, 3 sacks, right, career high by far, and played 30% of the snaps. But those were a good 30%. And the defensive rotation the Chiefs had last year was outstanding. And what excites me now is you basically have that rotation back. You lose Turk Wharton, his quickness and his ability to explode, but you have the principal pieces now to have that defensive rotation, the inside-outside we talk about, that could make this defense really good and sneaky good in 2025.
And Pennell mans such like a thankless role for the most part. I'm glad he got the sacks last year because when you're just like a run stuffer, it's hard to quantify that, but I'm going to quantify it, okay? So Pro Football Focus can do this.
And he was a Ninja Turtle, got his sack on his...
Yes, he did. It's hilarious. So he recorded the best run defense grade among defensive tackles on the Chiefs last year. And among defensive tackles with 150 run defense snaps, that's a pool of 99 players, he ranked 13th against the run, according to their metrics. Say what you want to about Pro Football Focus. That's pretty good. So Mike Pennell, when he was in the game and against the run, was among the very best at his position in that situation. That's saying something, and bringing a player like that back only makes this defensive line better. And this is something else you can't really quantify, but he's like the ultimate glue guy. I've said that before. People like being around him. He's a good locker room guy, and it's easy to be a good locker room guy when you're winning, but when the team is losing or had struggles, he's also been the same guy. He's been a motivator. He's the kind of player you want around. So you take a player who is productive, will man a fairly thankless role, do it really well, a role that you need to have on your team, and also he's just a great guy to be around and helps bring the team together. Those are the kind of players you want around.
He, too, like Kareem Hunt, Charles Omenihu, Juju Smith-Schuster, has got to get ready for a coach's OTA and training camp because he skipped all this last year. So, all right, Mike, get ready to go, buddy. You know what to expect, but it's awesome to have you back. And then finally, Marlon Tuipulotu. We know about his brother, plays for the Chargers, but I'm excited for him to get more of a chance. We saw him. He played 61 snaps. We saw him, in that Week 18 game. But he is one that you and I will watch during OTAs and during the mini camps to see what we've got there. Because when you look at it, he's got 3 sacks in his career. He had 2 and 23 with the Eagles. But that's an important piece. This defensive front, you ought to be excited about this group because in some ways it got better, but it kept everything together. And this is a defensive group that we talked about it. You talked about it ad nauseum. Took on the best running backs the league had and either contained them or shut them down. And to hold Saquon Barkley to 2.3 a carry on that many carries tells you everything. And those were runs that he was stopped before the game was decided.
And if there's one strength in this draft class, it's the defensive line. So I don't know what the Chiefs will end up doing, but there will be an opportunity to make this defensive line even better in the draft coming up in about a month. Can I add one more guy?
Yeah, throw it in there.
So we signed Robert Rochelle this week, and he's interesting because he's a corner from the Packers, still pretty young. He's primarily been kind of like exclusively a special teamer during his career, particularly with the Packers, and a gunner specifically. But go back to the game. I think it was Sunday Night Football, maybe. It was against the Dolphins, a night game at Lambeau. He recovered a fumble in that game. Ironically, that's the game that locked up a playoff spot for the Chiefs. I remember texting you like, all right, check the first box. But it's a super athletic play where he gets right down the field. He gets off his block, does a full spin, then lands on the ball. So I don't know. I mean, let's see if he can get some defensive snaps here with the Chiefs, see what he can do in the secondary. But also, you like having players like that are athletic, they're young, and they're hungry to be on special teams. Dave Tobel loved this guy. He has some big-time athletic traits as well. So back in 2020, he was on Bruce Feldman's Freaks list. You ever look at that?
Oh, yeah.
For those that don't know, it's basically just a list of the players with the craziest athletic measurables in college football. He's 6 foot.
Carson Steele's an alum of that.
Carson Steele is definitely on the freaks list. He's 6 foot tall, 193 pounds, runs a 4.38. He had an 11-foot, 8-inch broad jump, just big-time athletic traits. So we'll see what he can do here in Kansas City. He was a 4th-round pick back in 2021. But I'm just saying, you have a player like this with big-time athletic traits who's hungry and eager to be on special teams, that helps your team overall. So Robert Rochelle is also a guy we should talk about.
If he locks down gunner or bracket guy, one of the two spots there as gunner, and locks it down like a Matthew Slater type, that is big for this team. Because different guys have done that in different roles. We've had starters out there, young guys. But if somebody locks that down and becomes elite, that is a big deal and a way the 25 Chiefs can improve in a great deal.
And maybe he can be that guy. We'll find out.
We're going to say goodbye with the guys on the red list, and these hurt. You know, I'm going to put together a social piece, I think, for every one of them, just because we get involved in them, and to say goodbye is tough. McCole Hardman, 3 Super Bowl rings. He's going to do well in Green Bay. This is different than his time with the Jets, I think. And his 58-yard kickoff return against Houston started everything in 2019. Super Bowl winning catch in Super Bowl 58, but way more than that. He was master of the jet sweeps and did a lot. Derek Nottie. We talk about Jerry Tillery. We talk about run stuffing. He was one of the more unselfish players I've ever seen. 3 Super Bowl rings. That's 6 Super Bowl rings from 2 dudes. So we'll say goodbye to them, wish them the best. I hope Derek has a great career continued with the Jets. But these are guys we will hug at reunions and remember them fondly.
So Derek was part of the 2018 draft class.
Yep.
And then McCole, the 2019 draft class. 2 of the best people and guys you'll ever meet. Like, just so friendly and kind, always willing to do stuff for the team in any capacity, on the field or off the field, or, you know, like with our social media department or with you and I just talking on the podcast. Like, just the nicest, kindest people ever. Like, McCole is genuinely one of the coolest, most down-to-earth people I think I've ever met. And Derek is quieter, but he's so friendly and kind once you get to know him. We're so fortunate to get to know both those guys over the years. They helped this team win so much, and I'm glad that they both had their moments. I was so happy that McCole caught the game-winning touchdown in Super Bowl 58. I found him on the field afterward, and I'm like, I am so happy for you because you've earned every bit of this. And for Derek, I'll never forget after Super Bowl 54, he was mic'd up. He's wandering around the field saying, I've never been a champion before in my life, and today I'm a champion. And little did he know he was going to be a champion a few more times. So we appreciate those guys. Those guys are Chiefs for life, no matter that they're signing elsewhere. Of course, going to make some money and continue their careers and have great success, I hope. But in my book, they're Chiefs for life.
Derek Nottie also got all this started. Remember his interception in Mexico City?
Yeah.
And that game started everything. It didn't lose after that game.
No.
That started the streak. And I remember that interception, like Derek Nottie just him calling the play. And I remember seeing him after the game. He's just like grinning ear to ear, like I got an interception. Like, but did you ever have a friend move away in grade school?
Oh yeah. It's the worst.
Those
yeah.
are the worst.
Yeah.
I had Johnny Jones. He moved away in 4th grade. He went to Granby, Colorado. I don't even know where he's at now, but that's what this feels like.
Yeah.
Is to lose 2 good friends that moved away. We wish them the best, but thank you, McCole Hardman, and thank you, Derek Nottie. And you have 6 Super Bowl rings between the 2 of you from your time here. So we also remember Spartacus and Dan Israel, and he will be remembered Thursday at a memorial service here in Kansas City at the Church of the Resurrection. But we also always want to keep you up with the GRB of NFL free agency.